There are 40 shopping days until Christmas, and in my opinion, it's never too early to start shopping for toys.
Now wait a minute, Roger. I didn't even know that you had any kids.
I don't. Roger Kissin with photographer John Dalton, News Center 13, Eau Claire.
Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh Weekly. As always, I'm Robo, and even with a holiday, there's stuff to talk about. There's always stuff to talk about. A lot of DC. Well, okay, I say that. Maybe it's because I'm hyper-focused on DC at the moment after getting the Medicom MAFEX Harley Quinn. I said it during the review. It's so simple, but it's such a nice design, and it's translated into plastic form so well. I mean, I'm like, oh, I need more Hush figures now. So it's good that Medicom made an announcement the exact same day that I received the figure. How's that for timing? I do love it when a plan comes together. But which one are you? Shh. It's time for a new lighting rig. I said last week that we would swing back around to the Tamashii Nations 2022 show, and here we are. To counterpart the Bandai S.H.Figuarts Venom, Let There Be Carnage Venom, they showed off Carnage from Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Yeah. And it's cool. Don't get me wrong, I like the look. Like the flayed, exposed flesh, the tendrils, the pointy weapons. I just don't care for the size. And that's not on Tamashii Nations, that is on the movie itself. I don't know, I always thought Cletus was more of a threat, more unhinged because he was smaller. This just comes off as, hey, bigger and badder's better, right? And it's not to me. This just looks like a red Venom. But that's just my own opinion. And in fact, I enjoyed the movie. It's just the size throws me off from what I think of when I think of Carnage. Don't let my personal opinion sway you. But I will say, just because an S.H.Figuarts figure is shown at a convention, that doesn't mean it's coming out. Remember all those Star Wars figures like Queen Amidala? Well, she was a traffic cone, but I'd still like her in action figure form. Super Battle Droid, or the MCU stuff like War Bonds, Captain America, Vision? I mean, what happened to that? And that's just tip of the iceberg. There are so many figures that just kind of faded away. And I hear it happens a lot to S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball Z. But there were some new pre-orders this week, like Super Saiyan Trunks, the boy from the future. See, this I recognize. It's Trunks, but I am 99% sure that we have had an S.H.Figuarts Trunks figure in the past, right? Even of the Super Saiyan variety? Are they at that point where they're just re-releasing characters with tweaks and upgrades as they come along? Like I said last week, I haven't kept track of this line in a long, long time. And my only Dragon Ball collection is the model kits, so it's been a while. I say all this because there was also Super Saiyan Vegeta Awakening Super Saiyan Blood version. You did it, Tamashii Nations. You made me say Super Saiyan twice in the same sentence without referring to some kind of hair color or proper name for something. Because really, haven't there been Vegetas? I know there's been Vegetas, because I eyeball Vegetas whenever I see them. One of those had to be in Super Saiyan. But seeing this, and they do point it out, I do like the pearlescent yellow in the hair. It makes it a bit more ethereal, like it should be. And I love this shot. Just arms crossed, nonchalantly, kicking up as high as possible. Just, I can do whatever. Trunks is $50, Vegeta is $28. They're both due out next April. One more S.H.Figuarts that I'm going to mention this week. Chainsaw Man. My 17-year-old just randomly started talking about this character this week, and then last Sunday and Monday, I was running an actual chainsaw. So when this popped up, my brain went, okay, look at this. It made me take a closer look when this ran across my screen, and it also sparked a memory of another Chainsaw Man several weeks back, but we'll get to that next segment. Anyway, once I started looking, this was the picture that made me go, holy shit, this looks awesome. Dude has chainsaws for his head and arms. It's very interesting. I don't know why I didn't stop earlier than this, but now that I've gazed upon the gloriousness, looking at the other pictures, they're just all so fluid. There's a sense of movement, of action. I mean, besides there being chainsaws just all over the place, the figure itself, it poses very, very nicely. Did I mention chainsaws for arms and head? There's an alternate jaw with long demon tongue. There's a swappable tie for a more windswept look. And then somehow there's optional hands where you go from fists to open clenched to relaxed. I'm guessing each hand is in halvesies and it just plugs in on each side of the saw. That's gotta be it. Gotta be. $50, also scheduled for April. And like I said, there's another version out there. Doing a very late swing back around, Good Smile Company solicited their Figma Chainsaw Man earlier this month. At the time, I just figured it was Figma doing another character that I didn't know much about. They were doing some kind of deep dive. But now that I've seen other companies wheeling their versions out, I had to go back, take a look at this. And most of what I said there applies here too. It's a guy with chainsaws for his head and his arms. And the more times I say that, the more the image sinks into my brain, and the more I like it. This also has the alternate jaw piece with the demon tongue, but here you can actually swap it to full-on human Denji. There's interchangeable head and arms, along with swappable faces and hands. And an axe. And a little leg humper with a chainsaw integrated into the design. Now, I don't know if this creature has a proclivity for lower limbs. It just looks like a little leg humper. Am I wrong? All these extras are great, and it's nice to have the option to have the non-chainsaw form. But why would you not want to have chainsaws for your head and your arms? I think I've said chainsaw more today than I have in my entire life. And I live in the backwoods. Another thing to consider is this is unmistakably Figma. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that you can look at an action figure and go, yup. That's a Figma. They just have that feel. And then speaking only for myself, again, personal opinion, I look at these pictures and they don't seem as smooth, as dynamic as the S.H.Figuarts version. I hate to do the comparison before they even come out, but that's what I'm thinking. And then of course, extra plastic means extra money. This is $83 and it comes out 3 months later than the S.H.Figuarts, if that matters to you. Again, that's not negatives, I'm just saying. Over on the Super 7 side of things, seems there's a new Conan Ultimate! You wanna see what it looks like without the editing? Ultimates! King Conan, so regal. Sitting on his throne, looking out upon what's best in life. This is actually 2 releases. The figure comes with an alternate head, sword, big honkin' sword, alternate hands, and then the throne comes with the spear that he's shown with at the end of the movie. I had my doubts that the figure could actually sit like this on the throne, but apparently there was an actual physical output at DesignerCon last weekend in this pose, so I guess it can. And the second head is pretty awesome. I love a good head tilted down, eyes looking straight on. It just makes it meaner all around. Conan is the standard $55, the throne is $45, or there's a bundle you can get both together for $100. This week there was also the solicitation for the Notorious B.I.G. Now I'm gonna admit it, Robo do not know Biggie, so I can only look at this from an action figure standpoint. Seems like the standard Ultimate's fair. I do notice the skin tone. I like the shading. And then, of course, hat options are always good. Super 7 seems to be going after a lot of real people licenses lately. You know what I mean? Makes it unpredictable. You never know who they're going to solicit next. Again, $55, due out early 2024. Are we already talking about 2024? It's near the end of the month, you know what that means. It's time for some wild MAFEX offerings to appear on the horizon. But like last month, there's some extraness. And I say that because Medicom usually solicits in pairs. This month there's 4, but 2 may be hard to get. Back in July at their own show, they showed off these silhouette versions of Batman and Superman. Basically, their reuse of the Dark Knight Returns versions with a whole lot more black plastic, whole lot less paint. And it's not just randomness like I thought before. I'd never heard of Dark Knight Falls, but they're based on the cover to that, where the heroes are just in deep, deep shadow. It makes for a nice pairing. It's easy reuse, it's a neat effect, and it's not taking up the monthly slots because these are only available at Medicom run storefronts and MCT Tokyo. Very limited. Each figure comes with alternate head sculpts, which again is just the original versions in black plastic. And then Batman comes with the big honkin' spike knife. Notice he doesn't come with the machine gun though, and that is featured prominently right on the cover. For the regular monthly pair of pre-orders, first there is T2 T800 without the battle damage, because the last one was battle damaged. This one, all nice and clean, and oh look, there's all the weapons. He comes with all the guns. Looking at the base sculpt, a lot of the wrinkles and such does match the battle damage version, but it's not reuse because they don't have battle damage. Hence, non-battle damage. I don't know where I'm going with this. Oh, I remember where I was going with it. It's not saving them any money on the back end because they have to make new molds for the tweaked parts. So they're not just, haha, gonna make you pay for it twice, because on top of that, they're also soliciting this before the battle damage version even comes out, so you have options with your money before you spend it. That's always good. But my eyes are on the MAFEX DC Batman Hush Poison Ivy, especially since, like I mentioned way at the first, I got that Harley Quinn this week. I'm needing to add to that display. We also saw this back during the summer, so it's been on our hearts and minds. But to get that pre-order locked in, even if it's gonna take a long time before it comes out, that's a nice feeling. But did Ivy wear little shoes in Hush? Like I've said several times before, I haven't actually read the story yet. I have the trade in there by the desk. So I only have the old DC Direct figure to go by, and that was barefooted. It's just something that jumped out at me because, man, it's such a great looking figure. Cue the old, well, that stepped right off the comic page into plastic form that I usually drag out at about this time. T800 and Poison Ivy are $80 each, due out in a year or more. And I emphasize more because it'll probably take longer than that. I have no idea about the Dark Knight Falls figures though. They are separate releases, but like I said, they're in stores and on MCT Tokyo, just like I said about Webman last month. Now that was supposed to release this month. I never saw it on the actual MCT Tokyo site. I don't know if it was going to be available there. Is it just in actual physical brick and mortar stores overseas? Your guess is as good as mine. Probably better in most cases. Whoa, Todd, easy. I didn't mean any offense by saying it was a light week for DC Multiverse last week. No need to get all, oh yeah? Well, here's 7 new sexy figures. In fact, I think there's been a new figure shown every day since the last weekly, starting with Nightfall Catwoman. I think it's a good move on McFarlane's part to be sprinkling in these classic looks. Yes, they are arguably less visually interesting than your Death Metals or your Elseworlds, but there is a market here. And if there's a market, you know Todd wants a piece. And it's not like it's just the plain cat suit. There's also little flourishes, some Toddifications to spice it up a bit. Same for the Jay Garrick Flash. First glance, oh, it's so classic. Plain bodysuit, lightning, hubcap hat. That's Jay Garrick. But you look closer, and there's a texture to the whole suit, just very fine, very subtle. And then the sleeves that extend down onto the hand with the thumb loop thing, whatever that is. That modernizes it ever so slightly, gives it a little extra oomph. Although I say that not knowing if there's a modern version of this Jay Garrick. Is this what he looks like now? And I thought it was the same deal for this Superboy, but apparently this is a a modern version. Notice the spikes and the stubble. Oh, hardcore. Hey, look, a Mr. Freeze. Now, I'm going to point out the nice looking armor, the snow globe helmet, but my eyes went directly to, he's got his freeze gun. And you could argue, yeah, it's an imaginary ice ray, but we've seen crazier, more make-believe weapons omitted in the past. So this feels like progress. This feels like, here you go. I still don't know who the Signal is, but from a purely visual standpoint, there's not a lot of Bat Family with yellow as their primary costume color. Yes, I know Robin has some yellow, but this stands out. And just from the name, I'm guessing this is based on the bat signal of some kind. Like, when the signal comes around, you can expect more bat stuff to happen. I just make this up as I go. There's also another Joker on the way, this time in Infinite Frontier flavor. It took me a minute to realize that he is holding his eyeball, and if you zoom in really close, the right eye seems to be sewn shut. It's not a bad thing to keep a character of this caliber in circulation, along with giving people options. Oh, I don't like that Joker, but I like that one. Oh, and I like that one too, but not that one. Finally, Kingdom Come Armored Batman. Just look at this picture. I didn't know what I was looking at first. I thought it was a painting, maybe a comic cover, but then you see the joints in the wings, in the figure itself, and realize that's a toy. One word. Glorious. No pre-orders yet, but I'm figuring we don't have to wait long. It's McFarlane Toys. I'll bet you a shiny nickel that these will be in people's hands within the next month, maybe 2. The voting for the Hasbro G.I.Joe Classified Series HasLab His Tank Tactician figure has ended, and the winner is... Bravo. That means we're all winners. Everyone wanted him to match up with the rest of the crew and the vehicle itself, right? No, I know there was a push for other colors, and honestly, I can see how people think this is boring because, oh well, it just looks like the rest of the team. To me, that's a very Cobra thing to do. Color coordination. I said back when all this started, I'd be happy with anything that released. The purple, the blue, the various Snake Eyes variations, but this was my guy. So, all that's left to do now is wait for this to hit my porch. Nope, not yet. No. Finally, let's finish it off with a little Marvel Legends news. Nothing too earth-shattering. In fact, this has been rolling around in the rumor mill for several months now, but as I always say, seeing physical plastic is always better. Here is Gambit from Uncanny X-Men number 275. I know this is from a very specific moment in time when it comes to the vast history of X-Men. They were all in their training uniforms, but it makes complete sense from a manufacturing standpoint. Hasbro can knock out this whole team with just a few bodies. Now, they could have just taken this body and stuck one of the old LeBeau heads on there, since they have a couple at this point, but no. They actually put a new sculpt up there. Even in the yellow and blues, Remy has to have that open skull sock thing, whatever. But this time around, the face is tweaked, the eyes are closer together. It looks just better. But the hair, I think, falls somewhere between the original swaying French fries and the Target exclusive version, which I like better. I like this, but it's not my favorite. Not that I'm an expert in hair, but I do have my preferences. Then, I completely forgot he carried a shoulder bag during this time. I guess he didn't have the trench to hold his trading cards and other things to throw out. Plus, the uniform didn't have pouches in the 90s. I know. Who the hell at Marvel screwed that up? Closer inspection, it's actually the retro-carded Longshot satchel turned around backwards, which I'm just now realizing was also used in the Old Man Logan and Hawkeye 2-pack, and with this Hobgoblin, and this Hobgoblin, and this Green Goblin, and this Green Goblin.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
It works for both, though, and here, it's nice to see the little silver paint on the buckles and buttons. Either way, we now have Gambit in the training uniform. Pre-orders are already open for Wolverine. We've seen reveals of Storm and Banshee. If the 3-pack leaks hold true, we should see Psylocke, Jubilee, and Forge sometime soon. Are we gonna get Charles in that battle armor thing from the cover to finish off the crew? Maybe Deathbird? How about a proper Lilandra? And I think that's it for this week. It's a holiday week. There's been distractions. I've been out of the house. So that's all I got. If I miss something, we'll swing back around. If you're interested in seeing any of these pictures up close without me all chainsaws, more chainsaws. I'll be posting all of that along with links to pre-orders, more information on the Fwoosh front page Saturday at noon. But if you can't wait that long, I already pointed down, didn't I? Spoiler, links are in the description. And I just wanted to throw out a reminder, a refresher, that when I talk about import prices, I'm using MSRP or overseas retail prices. That does cause some confusion, especially when it doesn't match up with domestic prices. A lot of the times when stores bring them over to the States and then sell them, they're not getting them at a discount, or they're paying the import fees. On top of that, another big factor is the current exchange rate. The yen is definitely in our favor at the moment. So things cost less when you buy it overseas and it's converted to the dollar. That puts an even wider gap between the prices you see at these stores compared to prices you see at these stores. And I can't give the price in yen because that also causes confusion. So the best thing to do is just click the links in the description, shop around, find the best option for you. Because a lot of the time when you buy it overseas, you gotta pay shipping from overseas, and that balances things out if you were gonna buy it from a domestic store. Just find what works best for you. But if you enjoyed this Fwoosh Weekly, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com, wherever you may be watching this. I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. Oh yeah, and for those of you who do observe Thanksgiving, I hope you had a nice holiday. We actually split our family stuff up this year, where I went to my family's house last weekend, and then my wife's family on actual Thanksgiving. So we didn't have to eat, and then go directly somewhere else and eat. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you had a great day too, because that's what it's all about. I can only hope that everyone is either happy or on their way to being happy.